And yeah, you said Jesse in Michigan seems like a great conversation to start off with.
Yeah.
Jesse, what's on your mind today?
Hello. Hello.
Howdy, what can we do for you?
Hello. Here, sorry, I don't know. Yeah, my name is Jesse, and I'm in Michigan, and I wanted to talk to you. I'm especially grateful to talk to you, Chrissy, because I know you're a mental health professional. And, well, my problem is dealing with mental health in the atheist community.
Sure.
Actually, kind of funny, but one of the reasons why I became an atheist was sort of called my education in the arts kind of helped. But also, I had mental health problems as a teenager, and I started receiving cognitive behavioral therapy, which I found to be very helpful. And, you know, like, it sort of helps deconstruct the way that I was thinking. As I grew up as a Catholic, and it, you know, being Catholic kind of insinuates that you're worthless, and you start to believe that after a while. And
yeah, I hear that.
Directly contributed to my mental health. But the problem that I'm really having now is that I identify as well, I would say this, let me be clear. I am under the Latino umbrella as far as the American political way of describing the census is concerned. But I wanted to let the audience know that I reject that label because Latino favors it favors the colonial powers of the Spanish and also favors the Catholic Church. So I strongly reject that. So, yeah, and as a person from Texas, Texas is peppered with ancient sort of, well, not really ancient, but old missions like the Alamo, which my ancestors were converted to either coerced or against their will or using force or other means. So
yeah, I hear that. And I hope that that is history that we are still willing to teach in our public high schools, which is something I definitely worry about. Like, you know, San Antonio has a missions baseball team. We're definitely aware of their existence, but how do we talk about them? What is the story that we are telling people, and how are we educating people about the oppressive nature of those institutions? They're not just cool old buildings. They're places of incredible oppression. But yeah, with all of that in mind, Jesse, tell me about your call for today. Tell me about your experiences of mental health in the atheism community, or what it is that you're struggling with here.
I guess I'm trying to put it into words, so it's really helpful to speak to y'all because I don't really have any other resources to talk to other people. I mean, for example, like I said, I'm in the arts, and I deal with people who are under the atheist umbrella all the time, but I don't know any other skeptics. And I don't feel at home or safe within my own arts community because I might have somebody say, yeah, I'm atheist, but then they'll believe some nonsense about alternative medicine or, I mean, in my personal encounters, I encounter a lot of people who don't understand what it's like to not be white in the arts. And it kind of has a tax on my mental health, and it starts to feel like I don't belong. And, yeah,
I hear that. I mean, we are here promoting atheism, but we also like to bring to the table critical thinking, secular humanism, like some of these other notions. Atheism, absent those things, can create a vacuum where a lot of completely irrational, wooey type beliefs can come in and fill some space.
Yeah, and it makes me feel like an asshole because I talk to people like, you know, like in the arts or the art world, like at an exhibition or something, and they'll say something that I really just vehemently disagree with that might fall in line with a certain RFK. You know, that's all well and good, but it's like they can say that stuff and be accepted, but I can't. The moment you say I don't believe that, I feel like I'm an asshole, or like I have to sort of challenge it, and I don't want to do that. I just want to be accepted in my own space. And the reason why I brought up Tejano, my culture, my identity, is because I don't feel like I'm at home in Texas either, especially with all of the laws that are changing and sort of oppressing. I mean, what it comes down to is it's oppressing me in my own country, and it doesn't feel good to be the target of this administration. And I find a lot of allyship with the trans community that I have a lot of respect for because it's sort of this quest of finding the space that you belong in. And I would say I align with it tremendously. But I guess it's really hard to put this into words. I'm trying to find a place where I belong, but the atheist community that I know of isn't sufficient. And I don't fit into my own community either because I'm an artist, and so if I get asked all the time to do a painting of Our Lady of Guadalupe. Do you know that image?
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I get asked to do that a lot. I'm like, I don't believe this, and that to me, Catholicism is the sword in which was used to oppress my ancestors, and I strongly reject it. And I know that y'all receive a lot of calls from other Latino people, and I can hear it in the accent, and it breaks my heart to hear people loving that oppression. I'm like, no, these people literally killed and committed gender-based violence against my ancestors 200 years ago, and it's, and this sort of mass deportation is a continuation of that, and it makes me feel, it's like not good for my mental health.
Yeah, no, the lack of inclusion here is breathtaking, and I can absolutely appreciate why it's challenging to find a community where you feel like you fit in. I did not go looking for the atheist community of Austin. I really stumbled backwards into it. And now I'm so grateful years later to have so many wonderful friends and so many ties to this community where I'm surrounded by people who don't just reject the idea of a God, but who have a interest in skepticism, who have a interest in promoting the separation of religion and government, who are concerned about and keeping an eye on the ways that religion mixed up with government can lead to all forms of bigotry and oppression, and certainly what we are seeing in the mass deportation movement and some of these other very real issues. Unfortunately, I don't know exactly where to point you beyond saying building your own community is always going to be a part of the process. But Dan, is there any particular organization, anything that comes to mind, or any advice that you might have on how to connect with people who Jesse may be able to better relate to?
Well, it's really tough because not everybody views atheism the same way that we necessarily do. So there was this idea put out. It was 2012. A person named Jay McWright wrote this thing. It's called Atheism Plus, and it was in a response to sort of some sexual scandals that were happening in atheist conferences and stuff. And all it was basically saying was, hey, we should also be like atheists and feminists, right? Which is something that I feel like most people we talk to today is yeah, obviously that was a big deal to a lot of people then. This idea that atheism could also encompass these other values or even should have any value judgments on other issues. For some people, that's a novel thing. And some people still struggle with that, and to incorporate these other values of humanism and these other values of recognizing oppression and histories of violence and things like that, and fighting against that. So that's a difficulty in itself, right? One is finding atheists that also align yourselves in those values. That's definitely different now. I think more people are open to that. But there's still some old school people that don't even incorporate that. So you have that, but also, atheists in general, organizing atheist organizations, the saying has been said many times, it's like organizing a herd of cats. Just because you have so many people who value themselves as free thinkers and skeptics, that they tend to fight a lot. There tends to be a lot of miscommunication, and sometimes skills are misappropriated in places. So, when Christy's saying, yeah, you should start your own, I understand that there's a huge challenge there, and that's not something that everybody can really do. But honestly, the biggest fruits of organizations I've seen have come from people who really do this stuff out of a labor of love, and who really want to see the change that they want to put out the change that they want to see in the world. So if you're feeling these feelings of, man, I really want to talk to other people about this, I want to make stuff happen, I'm actually with Christy and saying hey, starting your own group and getting stuff started is maybe the better way than trying to find a group where you might not even fit in or want to make things different anyway.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing?
Of course.
Please.
Yeah, I wanted to say one thing to the audience about what it means to be a person in your own. Because I reject the Latino label, I fall more under the mestizo category, which is the old term for the Spanish mixing with indigenous blood. And I favor the indigenous culture more because I frankly, I've been to Spain and I don't look like a Spanish person at all. I've been to Mexico and I don't really fit in there either. I'm a Tejano, and I wanted to share this with your viewers or listeners who also might be that under that category. I say claim your native identity because that's what I am. And my ancestors will also be known as the Coatlicon, which is basically all of South Texas. And that's my home. And I miss it, you know?
Yeah.
The reason why that's important is because I wanted to sort of dispel the foreignness of the Latino term. Because, I mean, like I said, I'm Tejano, but I have, you know, I'm not really I don't have anything in common with somebody from Uruguay, you know? Or I don't really have anything in common from somebody from Cuba. There's a political difference there that really matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially in Texas, right? You know, Latino being the highest minority group in Texas, right? So many people having their own individual communities and cultures here that's different from the rest of the world. We're asking ourselves a lot these days what terms like race mean to us, these sorts of social constructs that people tie their identities to. What is the importance of that? How that representation may not reflect the individual experiences of people broadly. And I'm of the opinion that you should take whatever label you feel comfortable for yourself, and take the labels that if you think share certain particular values to you, that you try to uphold those values. I'm all for it.
Yeah, so many people in the skeptic community get very uncomfortable with the notion of like self-identification. And we start hearing these references to like identifying as attack helicopters and some of that bullshit language. And I think this is a very clear-cut description of what these ideas really mean and why we have to sort of wrestle with our own identity and then connect to and identify with the aspects of our own history, the aspects of our own like birth and genetics and whatever else that are important to us and that we value, and not just take a oppressive label that is slapped on us by a government census or a birth certificate or whatever else. So I don't mean to overly conflate these things here, but Jesse, I really appreciate you talking to your feelings about that Latino label and why it doesn't feel appropriate to you and why there is so much religious oppression mixed up even in that, you know, government census data.
Yeah, and the fact that I am a mestizo was simply put there by the Catholic Church, and people just take it for granted because I'm like, no. The problem is that again, Texas is my home. It's our home. It would be evil to be deported from my own land like that.
Heard. Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sort of like really vehement in it, and I do think that the massive bloc that voted for Trump, that is under the Latino umbrella, I think voted by it's a mistake. I think the Catholic Church is the reason for that, because there's a lot of conservatism that's inserted in the church. Because I used to be Catholic, and I strongly reject that, and I think that might be why a lot of Latinos voted for Trump.
No question. There's a lot to be said about voting against your own self-interest because of these religious affiliations and sort of the block voting that comes along with our two-party system. Thank you so much for reaching out and for sharing all of this. We definitely hope that you find a community that better suits you. And Lord, I know that Dan and I are here, at least in part, to try and advocate for a government, for a world that is less interested than the one we currently have in othering, ostracizing, and scapegoating minority communities.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, to me, also, one last thing is that I feel like the atheist community online that I can do connect with are the closest people I really find sort of a home with. Because, I mean, my own community, I mean, I mentioned atheism amongst the Chicano, Tejano community. Man, that's a good way to get kicked out of a house.
Sure. But you know what, though? You, as an individual, are going to be a better advocate for that in those spaces than Christy and I ever will. Right. So, you know, there is an advantage of your connections to those spaces that I think, you know, could be seen as something to, again, like take advantage of. I'm not telling you what to do. Right. But maybe there are people in those communities who are also just as isolated as you are, because they don't have those kinds of connections or resources, or think of atheism as a white thing, because a lot of people think of atheism as a white thing. So, you know, there's something to that, too, just to keep in mind.
Yeah, and I'll just point out that the incredible crew that helps Dan and I put this show on, like Dan and I are both local to the Austin area and both
Mhm.
grew up around here, but our crew is made up from folks all over the place. I mean, we
Right.
were telling jokes about Canada earlier today, like we are from everywhere. And if you don't have a community, maybe the atheist community of Austin can be a part of that solution wherever it is that you're located. We always have volunteer opportunities. We have all kinds of different meetups and opportunities to participate in this community. We hope that you'll join us and that you can find something of value there.
Thank you very much. I super duper appreciate it, and I hope to talk to y'all again soon.
Hey, same here.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for giving us a call. You have a great day.